The silence in the penthouse was a presence, thick and expensive, broken only by the whisper of a single sheet of paper sliding across polished ebony. My daughter, Alara, stood before my desk, a small, 9-year-old fortress of quiet composure, her chin held high in a way that mirrored my own boardroom posture. But her eyes, the same stormy gray as her mother's, betrayed a tremor of sheer, undiluted terror. She placed the note in front of me, her small hand retreating as if from a flame. "It's for the school play," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the city 30 floors below. "I'm the lead." I, Alistair Vance, who had stared down hostile takeovers and orchestrated corporate coups without breaking a sweat, felt my heart perform a painful, stuttering lurch. I looked down at the paper. It was a permission slip, but scrawled in the blank space beneath the typed text, in Alara's careful, looping handwriting, was a plea that shattered the curated stillness of my world. "Ma'am, can you pretend to be my mom for the school play?" The word, "ma'am," was a blade. It was the title my staff used. It was the distance I had meticulously built, brick by brick, since the day her mother, Isabella, had left us 5 years ago, chasing a freedom she claimed my ambition had suffocated. In her wake, I was left with a multi-billion-dollar company and a daughter whose grief I was too crippled by my own to comfort. So, I'd become, sir, to my employees and, ma'am, to my only child. A CEO first, a ghost of a father second. "Alara," I began, my voice rough, the way it got during tense shareholder meetings. "You know my schedule, the Singapore merger." Her small shoulders, encased in a simple, navy blue dress, slumped. The fortress walls crumbled. "It's next Friday, at 2 p.m. It's only an hour. You sit in the audience. And then, after, you come backstage. You say, 'That's my girl.' You pretend." A single, traitorous tear escaped, tracing a path down her porcelain cheek. She swiped at it angrily, a gesture so like Isabella it stole my breath. "Everyone else, they have a mom. I just need one for an hour. Please, ma'am." The repetition of that word, "ma'am," was a fresh twist of the knife each time. I saw the scenario with brutal clarity. My daughter, on stage, her eyes scanning the darkened auditorium, searching for a face that wasn't there. The other children, swarmed by proud, weeping mothers. Alara, alone, the lonely CEO's daughter. I had built an empire to give her everything, and in the process, I had given her nothing at all. "Of course," I said, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. The, "of course," was a lie. Nothing in my life was, of course, when it came to matters of the heart. It was all negotiation, strategy, and damage control. "I'll be there." The relief that flooded her face was so profound it was agony. She didn't hug me, she just nodded, a quick, formal little dip of her head. "Thank you, ma'am." And then she was gone, her small, silent footsteps retreating back to her wing of the penthouse. The week passed in a blur of contracts and video conferences, but the note on my desk was a constant, haunting anchor. "Pretend to be my mom." I found myself staring at Isabella's portrait in the hallway, her vibrant smile frozen in time. "How do I pretend to be you?" I whispered to the empty hall. "I never knew how to be you. I only ever knew how to love you, and that wasn't enough." The day of the play arrived. I canceled my 1 p.m. meeting, a move that sent ripples of shock through the company. My driver navigated the streets to the prestigious Oakwood Academy, a place I funded generously but visited rarely. I took a seat at the back of the auditorium, my tailored charcoal suit feeling like a costume amidst the sea of casual, cheerful parents. The lights dimmed, the curtain rose, and there she was, Alara, as the spirit of the forest, in a gown of green gossamer. She didn't just say her lines, she was them. Her voice, so often a whisper at home, was clear and resonant, filling the space with a poignant, ancient wisdom. She was luminous. She was her mother incarnate. All that passion and life I had tried, and failed, to keep. And throughout her performance, her eyes, those beautiful gray storms, kept drifting to the audience. Searching, my heart hammered against my ribs. She was looking for a mother's pride, for a connection I had failed to provide for 5 long years. The play ended in a thunderous applause. Children bowed, beaming, and were immediately swallowed by the crowd of backstage well-wishers. I stood, my legs unsteady, and made my way through the throng. This was it, the moment of the pretend. I pushed past the curtain. The backstage was chaos, a happy, noisy chaos of hugs, laughter, and proud tears. I saw Alara, still in her costume, standing slightly apart. Her gaze was fixed on the floor. I walked towards her, my script ready in my head. That's my girl. Just 3 words. A performance. A pretense. I was 10 feet away when she looked up. But her eyes didn't find mine. They looked past me, over my shoulder, widening in a shock so absolute it silenced the entire world around us. A figure emerged from the shadowed wings, a woman in a simple, elegant coat, her face both familiar and estranged by time, her eyes, gray and shining with tears, locked on Alara. Isabella, I breathed, her name a ghost on my lips. Alara let out a choked, desperate sound, half sob, half joy. Mommy, she didn't run, she flew. She crashed into Isabella's waiting arms, burying her face in her coat, her small body racked with tremors. Isabella held her, her own shoulders shaking, whispering words I couldn't hear into our daughter's hair. I stood there, a statue in the epicenter of their reunion. The forgotten architect of this empty palace. The CEO who commanded thousands, rendered invisible. It was then I saw it, tucked into the folds of Isabella's coat strap, a backstage pass. Not a last-minute ticket bought at the door, but an official, printed pass. Alara finally pulled back, her face a mess of tears and radiant joy. She looked from Isabella to me, her expression shifting to one of gentle, heartbreaking apology. I'm sorry, ma'am, she whispered, her voice carrying in the sudden hush that had fallen around us. I didn't think you could come. So I wrote to Mommy. I found her address in your old desk. I asked her to come instead. The twist wasn't just in her words, it was in the quiet, devastating understanding that dawned in her eyes as she looked at my stricken face. She hadn't needed me to pretend to be her mom. She had needed a mom. And knowing, on some deep, childish level, that I could never truly be that for her, she had gone and found the real one. My performance was over before it had even begun. The lonely CEO wasn't my daughter. It was me, and as I watched my wife hold our child, the two of them forming a perfect, unbreachable circle of love, I understood the final, heartbreaking stage direction. My role was to stand alone in the wings, the sole audience member to a happiness I had never been able to provide, and would now forever watch from a distance.